Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where we talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Into the Badlands. A lot of interesting things went down in this episode. First and foremost, the Master actually letting Minerva get access to her powers ahead of time like that. I was like, I thought the whole deal was like, when it's all said and done, you need her to get her powers. But I guess it's like the whole spiritual journey she went on was kind of the whole point. Because basically, it made Minerva confront herself, because in the long run it's like, okay, she's in this world where it's like, I guess it, because part of me was wondering, is like, is it supposed to be like, I guess it's supposed to be like if she had her powers, eventually she wipes out all the, like, you know, other Barons and she's the only one left instead of being a butterfly, which, you know, the butterfly is all about, you know, transformation, kind of almost evolution in a certain, but more so transformation. But she's a scorpion and it's all about, you know, stinging those, you know, killing those who stand in your way, essentially. And so basically, obviously, she's in this confused state of, like, you see her, like, you know, because it's almost weird, too, to see her with her abilities. Because the only time we've ever seen Minerva with her Dark Wind abilities was when she was a little kid, like the whole, like, Baji situation. But that's about it. So it's weird seeing her with it. And just, obviously, she's always been brutal. But to see her extra brutal with her powers, like, breaking those dudes' bones in their arms like that was nasty, you know? Even to the point, like, I guess that was like some like Abbott stuff where she kind of paralyzed those guys, like when she held onto their throats like that. But nevertheless, you know, for her, you could see that she was struggling between like who she was in this world of like, oh yeah, I'm gonna rule with an iron fist, but obviously she's like, no, like I don't want, you know, because the way she was ruling was like the way Chow would, to brand people. It's like, oh yeah, there's like a rebellion up, like she's taking care of all the other Barons, but now there's a rebellion. There's someone known as Raven trying to stop her. The person she ends up saving is Tilda. Turns out Baji is one of the people that knows her, being like, hey, like, I know. For him, it's like, he got her out of the, you know, monastery if she promised to use her powers for good. But he's like, look at you now, you're using your power. Like, I guess this is supposed to be representative if, like, he got her out of the monastery without, like, her losing her powers and stuff like that. And this is who she would have grown up to be with her powers, and kind of, like I said, ruled by killing everyone. Because even he was like, the people who actually believed and trusted in you, you killed them because you were so paranoid about them being enemies that you just couldn't take any chance. And that's so interesting that's what, like I said, that's what this is all about. It's supposed to show, like, the fact of the matter is Minerva with her power, when she's so obsessed with power, what the outcome can be. And that outcome shows that she is no different from anyone. She's no different from Chow. She's no different than Quinn. She's no different from any other Baron that's ever ruled the Badlands, you know? She even killed Gaius because she thought, like, oh, like, she couldn't trust him. It's like, oh, you're the one behind this. But it turns out the one who was really Raven was herself. And it ends up being a very one-sided fight. But it was such an interesting thing, because for her, it's like, I am the side of you, that light in you that you try to snuff down for so long. To hide the fact is, you know, try to make yourself not see yourself for what you really are, a tyrant. Because Minerva always kind of justified all the things she's done by burying that light side of her, that side of her that could show her, make her realize, like, no, I'm being a hypocrite. I'm becoming the same thing, you know, because she's always worried about that. But, like, it's always seemed like when Minerva took a step forward, you'd be like, oh, it seems like she's growing. It seems she'd slide back into that whole thing. I mean, because I guess for her, it's like, because the thought process is like, oh, I'm doing this good, I'm doing this for other people, when in actuality it is all about you. Like, all you ever wanted was your power back, and now in this world you have it, and we see what happens. Like, you're alone at the end because you've killed anyone that would care about you, that would be by your side. Even Tilda, it's like she tries to show compassion to Tilda, and Tilda tries to attack her, and driven by her power, she ends up snapping Tilda's neck. The person that's probably the most important person to her in her life. Probably say after that, now it's Gaius. I mean, that was like the three important people to her: Baji, Gaius, and Tilda. Which is interesting because they end up meeting up, so it's kind of like serendipitous in an interesting way that it ends up happening. But it's to show, like, you know, once again, like, once you have that power, unless you fix who you are, that basically if she got her powers back, all she would be doing is, you know, basically repeating history of just power being the main thing that runs things, that power begets cruelty and pain and just death, you know. But when it's all said and done, we see her kind of killing her dark side, like that side of her that's a tyrant. And I think when Minerva comes back, she is a different person. Like I said, she won a bit of a spirit quest, and I think this isn't the same Minerva we saw before. I think she's going to go about this situation very differently. Now, whether her power is outright brought back, it's hard to say. Because the whole point might have just been for the master to teach her, like, hey, you need to kill that side of yourself. Or maybe it's just, maybe that didn't actually happen, but maybe it's just being there. It may, like, not that light side of Minerva came back. Maybe obviously that was all in her head. It could be just like seeing that unravel like that probably made her realize, like, I need to change things, or I'm doomed to repeat this history that's run into Badlands for so long. This thing that's not working, that's just getting more and more violence and hatred. Because, like I said, she was ruling with fear, and all that does is ruling by fear. All that does is begets you more enemies. It just creates more hate, more bloodshed. Like I said, it's just a messed up, bloody cycle. And so, like I said, whether or not it's like the pure, like the light Minerva took over, or whether it's just Minerva in general kind of changing her perspective and changing her mind, I don't know. We'll ultimately have to wait till the next episode to kind of see on that front. As I brought up before, Baji running into Gaius and Tilda. I love him being like, wait, you're Chow's brother? And you're working with Minerva? Man, I feel bad for you on multiple fronts. And then I love the whole Henry situation of him pooping and Tilda being like, oh yeah, here. And Baji's like, no, you just, oh, he does that from time to time. Yeah, you go deal with that. And everyone's just kind of throwing up, just kind of going like, ugh. Gaius is disgusted by the smell, and Tilda's almost hitting him out like, what the no, Baji, take this baby. What's also interesting too is like Baji trying to get goat milk. And once again, Henry loves Baji's dismay, so I love that. Also, like, he walks up the moon and everything. When they get back, he's like, is it me, or do you have a glow about you? And Nathaniel pulls out the knife. And then it's also like, oh, you're sitting here babysitting. It's like, what, do you not trust me? He's like, is that a serious question, Baji? It's like, I love that you still don't like him. And it's even more of a middle finger that Baji kind of gets to drive away later on with your car. And he's just coming, oh, she'll be back in one piece. Mostly kind of winks to him, and you can see Nathaniel kind of pissed off, like, I can't believe I'm letting that bastard leave with my car. I don't know, I love that. It's so good. He's going to go see someone. He's like, oh, if she doesn't skin me. I'm assuming, could be wrong, but I'm assuming he's going to go after the master, which is going to be interesting because him and Minerva are going to be. We're probably going to see those forces join like that. This could be potentially leading to even Baji getting his abilities back, so we'll see on that front. But it's like, obviously the whole thing with Chow, the war's entered a stalemate because Chow is still out there. I mean, yeah, that's definitely going to be interesting to see how that goes, because it's like Chow's more of like she's out there needing to be dealt with, but I think when it's all said and done, once again, the whole aspect of mercy, I think when it's all said and done, Gaius might push that forward, or maybe when Minerva returns, whatever the circumstances may be, she might be the one that shows Chow mercy of like, when it's all said and done, just lock her up, and it's like, you're going to see the new world that we're building, the world that you are a part of, showing no mercy, being cruel like that, the world of barons. That was the old way of doing things, but we're changing things going forward. I think that might be potentially where we see that go, but we'll see. There's the whole situation with Sonny. I love the conversation between Nyx and MK. Once again, MK's so blinded by rage, just like, because, Nyx is like, oh, so what about Henry? He's like, the fact is Henry's going to grow up without a parent just like I did. And then she's like, well, what about me and Castor? Do you think about all the mothers we killed? He's like, that's different. You're fighting for a cause. It's like, are we really? We're fighting for one man. And that one man will kill us the moment we're no longer useful to him, just like he did Castor, And I think that does kind of sink in with MK, because it's like, yeah, that, but like I said, he's letting his hate for Sonny blind him down a path that could end with a lot of people getting hurt, because Pilgrim can claim that it's for this and that. For him, it's like this is his destiny, and no matter what chaos he might wrought, he thinks this is for the best. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna bring people together. But it's just like Sonny says, it's like we see Minerva learning that the hard way. Pilgrim is just as misguided because he thinks by ruling with an iron fist he can bring peace, true peace, that way. But there will always be people who hate you for what you've done, like the death that you've caused. Just like the whole, like I said, it's an endless cycle, because MK hates Sonny for killing his mom. I mean, to be fair, let's not forget, MK with his gift has killed quite a few people too, I mean, that led to Odessa being like, being afraid of him, when that happened again, because she was there witnessing what he did, So, it's interesting. we see Pilgrim kind of losing himself a little bit because he's getting more and more frustrated because it's obvious, like, because he had a vision and he said, like, oh, here I am. It's like, I'm reunite with my brother. We're going to do this together. And it's like, I'm betrayed by my brother. I have to handle this on my own. But I also think it's the Darkwind abilities. Like, no matter how well trained he is, because of everything around him, he's not emotionally stable enough to use the powers. I think the powers are fueled off of his, like, grief and his anger, and his emotions are guiding him, even though he makes it seem like he's always been in control. And it's so interesting because he has always seemed like that, to see him kind of out of control now. So interesting, because he was about to kill one of his own people because it's like, no, he, you know, you failed us, but then Nyx luckily blocked it, which even the priestess goes like, oh, you activated without, you know, cutting yourself. It's like, yeah, because I envisioned Pilgrim killing Castor, and that's what allows me to do it. And so obviously she brings this up to Pilgrim. It's like, oh, he's frustrated. He's like, I feel impudent. She reaches down there in the back. It's like, whoa, okay. And it seems like she's undressing later on. She's like, you're far from impotent. And it looks like there's a happy ending type of situation going on there. I was like, wow, and then potentially beyond. But that's definitely interesting because obviously she's like, oh, watch Nyx, which Nyx showing up later on to help Sunny literally took a mannequin arm and threw it through someone's chest. That's brutal as hell. I also love that later on he's talking to Waldo about everything. For him, it's like, I would do everything I did again because it was for Henry's sake. Like, I knew who Pilgrim was, but I didn't care because it all meant about saving Henry. So what do you think, oh man? He's like, you are always an ass. Oh, you got nothing to say? You are always an asshole. That probably does mean that when it is all said and done, we might get a little appearance from Waldo, maybe at the end of the series. I would just hope so, you know, with things kind of changing and stuff like that. We'll see in the end whether that ends up being the case, just because, I mean, we got a little Waldo earlier in the season, but it was like Waldo when he was younger, so there's that. It's not Stephen Lang, but still, you know, I'm curious to see if they end up doing that or not. Like I said, I guess it depends on how everything ends, but you definitely see that, I think, because it's like, because one of those people was saying like, oh yeah, more people are faltering, like, you know, he tried, so, I mean, the whole point was, like, in the earlier parts of the season, he tried to nip it in the bud, the whole, like, oh, people losing faith, but he was like, oh, like, got further and further down that road, and it's like, oh, you know, people still maintain their faith. They found the Meridian Chamber, but that got messed up, and now he's pushing a dude to fix it. That's just going to scare him more, so he's going to try and do it, because it's like, oh, no, like, I don't have faith. It's more like, I just don't want to die. Just like the dude from before, like, when Pilgrim did his whole thing of killing all those guys, it's like, oh, the guy's like, I believe. It's like, no, you don't. You just don't want to die. It's that same thing. So is belief the same thing as fear? No, it's not. You know, it's a very different thing. And I think Pilgrim's so misguided. I think he's also letting the priestess kind of manipulate him in a sense of like making him think, you know, she's just going to tell him he's right when everyone else is telling him you're wrong, but he's so certain that this is his destiny, that this is what he's meant to be. And it's kind of interesting that he went down this path. Sonny went down the path that he did, yet Sonny's the one that ends up on the right path. It's interesting, like, you know, because the whole conversation between Sonny and Nyx of like, oh, he's like, I have all these marks. They used to be a badge of honor, and I wish I could wash them from my skin. If I could, I would. But then, like, Nyx is like, I have those same marks as well. Mine just are on the inside and harder to get rid of. And she's willing to help him because she realizes, because she's like, oh, you should run, you know, take Henry and just run. But for him, it's like, no, I have to set this right. And because there will be no peaceful world for Henry to live and coexist in if I don't stop what I basically helped start. And he also have like Nyx running into MK. You can definitely tell MK is going to be like so certain about the situation. Like, you know, he's figured it out too, which is going to be so interesting. When it's all said and done, I wonder, will MK go with Sonny or not? Like I said, when I figured it probably would end with Nyx almost getting killed or outright killed. That would shift MK's, like, you know, thought process. I don't know. It might even be like a whole Tilda thing because he still cares about Tilda. So it might be both. He might end up having to choose between them for whatever reason. I don't know. But MK's so certain in where he stands right now. But I think even he is shaky at best just because he sees what's happening. But like I said, I think his hate's just guiding him. So we'll see on that front. But Sonny wants to go see Ankara, which is interesting because Ankara was all for this, like, oh, what he'll bring to the world. Well, maybe not necessarily that she's all for it, but she felt like this is the route things needed to go. But maybe it's a situation of this is the way the world needs to go so that everyone will come together against this common enemy, that being Pilgrim, and stop this. That maybe that's what she saw, or maybe she is all for, like, everything that Pilgrim's going to bring. Maybe she, in her craziness, does think that it's the right way to handle everything. I have no idea. It's definitely going to be interesting to see what ends up happening on that front. Like I said, whether MK is going to change his mind and go with him, try and turn them in, might lead to MK and Nyx fighting. We'll have to wait and see. But only thing they can do at this point in time is stop Pilgrim. Luckily, they have stopped them long enough where it's like, okay, so he can't use the Meridian Chamber to make more Dark Ones. He's kind of stuck with the, he had 8 before, he's down to, because there's one Baji killed, and there was the 2, one got knocked out, but Nyx killed the other one, so that's 30, so it's like he's got 5 left, plus himself, so it's definitely going to be interesting to see where that ends up taking us. I am very interested to see what the next episode has in store for all of us. Do note that the next episode will be on Sunday. I don't know if this is doing the whole thing of like, oh, next week it will also be on a Tuesday. I don't think so, because sometimes AMC does this thing of like sometimes something will premiere one day and then like the next day the next episode, because they did that with like season 2 of Preacher, if I remember correctly. So it happens from time to time, but I don't think it's going to be like an entire series for the rest of the series type of thing. I think it was just for episodes 1 and 2, but like I said, we'll ultimately have to see. But like I said, the next episode will be on Sunday, so do keep that in mind. So, but like I said, I'm very interested to see how this all ends up playing out. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.